Hello everyone, this is your loving host, radio and TV personality, Dr. Afshan Hashmi, live and from the platform of her docu series, and this docu series will be syndicated worldwide to 300 million listeners. So if you give me sponsorship for this series, just imagine in a very reasonable price your product will be syndicated worldwide to 300 million listeners. Having said that, friends, as you know, I am full-time author and I write books and I am writer and I write articles. So these are my two books. The first one is The Modern Mughal Mentality, New Strategies to Succeed in India and the Global Marketplace. And this book was Amazon bestseller as well as hot number one new release on Amazon. And I would love a documentary to be made of this book. So all and men there are many companies featured in this. So all those Hollywood, Bollywood, independent documentary producers, please contact me at Afshan at drafshanhashmi.com, and also all those CEOs whose companies are featured in this: McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Starbucks, Levi's, to name a few. Please contact me at Afshan at drafshanhashmi.com and help making a documentary of this wonderful book. And also, please go and buy this book and give me an honest review, because the sale of these two books bring food to the table. Having said that, my second book, The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection, was Amazon bestseller, and this book came in 2019 when there was no trace of coronavirus. And in a very unique story, I have described what bioterrorism can do and to the human population. And so I want a movie or a web series to be made of this book, and I have already written the script. So all those Hollywood, Bollywood, independent producers, please contact me at Afshan at drafshanhashmi.com. And friends, because I am a full-time author and writer, and I just love, Wendy Williams. I'm a big fan of Wendy Williams, and I read this news that Wendy Williams is looking for $100 million podcast deal, and I pray to God that she gets that. And I was very, very sad when her show stopped on Fox. And but before we go and talk about it, let me show you a highlight of the interview. And here it is.
And as much as I love doing it, I was ready to do something new with my life, I mean, it was really becoming a burden after 14 years, waking up at 5
And
a.m.,
this appear
getting
this
myself to my
interview with the
apartment,
Circle of Sisters.
my apartment together, and then coming to the Wendy Williams show, and then all of a sudden I had wonderful people working at the Wendy Williams show, people who did hair, makeup, and wardrobe, but it was more to that. It's changing bulbs and making sure that everything is clean. And for me, I was just ready for something new. So the new thing for me is podcasts.
Woo! Tell us about it.
Well, I have to tell you, first of all, I didn't know anything much about podcasts. All those things, podcasts, and I was so busy doing the Wendy Williams show that I didn't have time to think about this, that, and the second and the third. When I finally stopped doing the Wendy Williams show, I said, wow, I can do anything I want or nothing at all. So I was like, well, what do I want to do? Well, I want to do something different, something new. And so podcast is one of those things. Now, clap if you know what podcast is.
Anybody know?
Clap if you have no idea what podcast is. Okay, wow. Okay. Well, from what I understand, podcast is where anybody could be on podcast. You guys can have podcasts yourselves and so on and so forth. But the more famous you are, the more, I think, wonderful it'll be for me, because now I feel like I'm talking to people that we've known each other for 14 years. And by the way, before 14 years doing that, remember I was doing radio.
WBLS.
Radio,
Welcome
WBLS. WBLS was the last one that I did, but I did so many different radios, of those that I was just ready to do something different. Podcast.
So you can watch this on YouTube, this interview, and this is from the interview she gave recently to Circle of Sisters, So let me read this news. This is from Deadline. And I'm just interested in celebrity news and all, and I'm a big fan of Wendy Williams, and I know many of my followers, they also love Wendy Williams, so I thought I will come live and talk about it. And I'm just sharing this information from Deadline. Wendy Williams is just back from a health recovery center, and she already has plans. First interview since getting out of the wellness center, Williams sat with WBLS radio personality Just Nick at the Black Women's Community event Circle of Sisters 2022 to talk about what's next. And that is the interview highlight I showed you. So you can go to YouTube and look for it. Jasnik at the Black Women's Community event Circle of Sisters 2022 to talk about what's next. Chief among those plans is a new podcast, the Wendy Williams Experience. What's not on tap right now is another television talk show. Williams said she loved doing her show but was ready to do something new with my life. It was really becoming a burden after 14 years. Williams, age 58, hosted her nationally syndicated talk show from 2008 to 2021. She left the show when ill health made it impossible to continue. She then had a very public struggle over control of her finances. Williams, whose career has spanned radio, TV, books, clothing, jewelry, and live events, said she is now going to take some time for herself. At the Circle of Sisters event, she talked about having lymphedema, which is tissue swelling, specifically in her feet. I refuse to get in a wheelchair, though William told the crowd, although she has been spotted occasionally using one. She also has the autoimmune condition known as Graves' disease. While doing her podcast, which will be out in several weeks, William indicated she would travel. I'm going to take a year of my life to fly and do and see things I have never done before while I'm young enough, she said. So this is little bit news from Deadline, and then there is news from Radar Online, and here it is. And it says Wendy Williams demands $100 million for podcast deal, executive concerned about her health. Wendy Williams has been secretly making moves of her grand comeback, but the companies she's talking to are allegedly concerned about her ability to show up to work. Sources close to the 57-year-old entertainer revealed the bombshell news to The Sun. The outlet claimed Williams has received countless offers for a podcast ever since she stopped appearing on The Wendy Williams Show due to her ongoing personal issues. An insider claimed Williams believes the new show should go to one of the two biggest podcast companies, iHeartRadio or Spotify. Williams became a household name in New York radio many years before her talk show debuted on Fox. The source told The Sun that Williams believes she's worth big money like Joe Rogan. Rogan signed $100 million podcast deal with Spotify. She sees Joe Rogan as $100 million podcast deal, and now she wants that kind of money, the source said. The problem is, iHeartRadio doesn't like controversy, which leaves the only home in Spotify. However, sources say Wendy would need to prove herself until Spotify signed the deal. Many have concerns over whether Williams could complete a daily or weekly show. The revelation of Williams shopping the podcast comes days after she sat down for an interview with Fat Joe. She told Joe that she would be returning to the Wendy Williams show in the fall, despite Sherry Shepherd already signed on the takeover. I'm coming back to the Wendy Williams show. Absolutely, absolutely, she said. Williams also told Joe she would not be watching Shepard's show. That's not really my thing anyway, but I love being on my own show and I love that people love to watch it all the time, she said. Williams continued to shade Shepard by telling Joe she wished he and Remy Ma were the only ones filling in for her on the show. She missed out on this entire season due to her personal issues. Williams moved down to Florida, where she is reportedly being taken care of by her son Kevin Hunter Jr. Amid the drama, her ex husband Kevin Hunter sued the Wendy Williams show producers, accusing them of wrongful termination, seeking $10 million in damages. Williams also sued Wells Fargo Bank, accusing them of freezing her accounts unjustly. The bank said they feared the entertainer could be the victim of financial exploitation and asked the court to appoint a guardian. The case is ongoing. And then I found very interesting news on her Instagram page, and let me show you that. So this is the
Hey, happy holidays! 'Tis the season for the winter. Listen, don't forget to check out your favorite Wendy Experience merchandise. I don't know what else you're doing. I'm just happy to be here and to be, well, happy to be here. Hey!
and I just and folks, I like the merchandise on that Instagram page, and you can go and have a look at that. And I wish all the luck to Wendy Williams, and I'm looking forward for that podcast. Cheers and bye bye.